Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 1 p.m. on Saturday in Hong Kong. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California.
Okay, crunchy topic tonight. And are eukaryotes Borg? And we'll explain that in 8.3 seconds. Approximately 2. Oh, hey, Scott.
Lots of crunchies.
Yes.
Yes, we do too. Sometimes we don't have a lot of time to do the crunchies, but this is a big topic, folks.
Yeah. So approximately 2.2 billion years ago, a prokaryote started assimilating other cells. Or did they get infected by other cells? Either way, that led to all complex life that we know about. During this episode, we'll delve into prokaryotes, eukaryotes, maybe organelles, and definitely mitochondria.
I was inspired to delve into this topic because some time ago I saw a program and learned that eukaryotes only happen once, which allowed complex life on Earth to emerge.
Yeah, hi, Don. Another vote for
Don,
crunchies.
yes. So other things seem to come around, like eyes and big cats
and saber-tooth whatever.
Saber-tooth. Oh, hey, Janie.
Hi, Janie.
Happy December to you too. But this transition from a single cell creature to the cells that are capable of more only happened once. And we'll talk about how that kind of might pertain to space a little bit later on. But I'm going to tell you about these three domains, and they're kind of over and above the kingdoms. You know, there's like kingdoms and families and all kinds of different categories in biology, but these... Hey,
hi there. Cliffy is online. Huge thunderstorm on the way in a few minutes. Hot and humid.
Wow. But there's supposed to be a dry spell in Australia. We saw something.
Yeah, we saw something. You're apparently supposed to be in drought right now.
Yeah, you know, climate change.
So get ready for those drought floods, Cliff.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and share this screen and talk to you about prokaryotes, which are bacteria and archaea, and eukaryotes. Okay, let me go to that. Because you see this nice chart here. This three-domain system is a biological classification, and you can see the people that are involved there: Carl Woese and Otto Candler and Mark Wheelis in 1990. This divides the cellular life forms into these bacteria, archaea, and eukarya, which eukaryotes we usually say.
Yeah,
typically.
And just to make it clear, eukarya is what led to all multicellular life. So
yes.
So that's the branch that led to us.
Yeah, and you know, I guess they talked about this two-empire system, which was really the bacteria and the archaea, and there's a nice picture of that. However, we've decided that, and you know, I think things will keep changing myself. We've decided that eukaryotes have come from maybe the archaea side of it. So again, there's like this whole system of explaining where things fit in, and that's the realm we're talking about right now. This kind of above and beyond all of the other biological classifications.
Don says, I heard some are praying for that drought. And then Cliff said, no, that was last month. Been raining for a few weeks.
Okay. So over to you.
Okay. So
and I can stop sharing this.
Yeah. The difference between prokaryote and eukaryote is that a eukaryote has a nucleus, whereas the prokaryote, which is bacteria and archaea, both have just their DNA in the cell. Now, usually in a clump, but it's not protected by, by an actual nuclear wall,
Mm-hmm.
which is so that's that's the cutoff between eukarya, which led to complex
That's
life.
where the Borg comment comes in, because they have possibly been assimilated.
Yeah.
These they have maybe assimilated each other somehow.
Right. Yeah. Now
we're not completely sure.
Yeah. Now here I'm gonna share.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Which one's mine?
There it is. I got
Okay.
it. I know it.
Oh, and
You just got to go and.
Yeah. Now I have to switch to it so that I can actually
Yes.
control it. Because okay.
There you
so
go.
Let me scroll down here. Oops, wrong one. Let me scroll down here. Come on. Here we go. Okay, so eukarya and bacteria. They both have similarities to eukaryotes, and probably combined led to them. Bacteria, we know a lot about already because it's infectious, so we study it. Archaea,
and there's a lot of it.
Archaea, yeah, there's fewer archaea, but they're also not known to be infectious. In fact, our gut, a lot of our gut organisms are archaea. Stuff living on our skin is archaea. They tend to eat other critters, but they leave us alone. So, but archaea are also where the extremophiles are. That's the group for extremophiles. So the things that live in the vents, the things that live in like the hot springs. In fact, archaea can live off of any kind of different kind of energy.
Okay.
Chemical. Heck, there's some that they did a study. They found some living off of radioactivity, even.
Yeah, I was just gonna say radiation is
right.
Anything is a source of energy,
right.
basically, I guess.
So
really, right?
Bacteria and archaea. A lot of the diagrams show bacteria developing first, and then archaea developing. But by looking at everything, I'm thinking that they developed at roughly the same time. Because when the oxygen kill off happened, when everything that had been producing oxygen as a byproduct,
waste, basically,
as a waste product, then it started poisoning everything. So cells started developing cell walls to protect themselves from the oxygen. Archaea and bacteria have different structures for their cell walls.
And that's what's in that
right.
chart right there.
Yeah, right here.
Cell wall.
The archaea have ether cell walls, and bacteria have ester cell walls. Now, genetically, eukaryotes are linked to archaea, but they have bacteria cell walls. And the reason why archaea, now both bacteria and archaea have circular chromosomes. And bacteria, however, divides by unzipping the chromosomes and then just using the chemicals in the cell to rebuild the other half of the chromosome. Whereas archaea developed proteins that actually perform the unzipping and then put the right chemicals to rebuild the DNA.
Yeah, they splice in the matching pieces.
Which is exactly what eukaryotes and we have. So
seems like you can almost trace it by how they operate and what they do. And
so what it is, so what seems to be happening is that our cell wall is bacteria related, but our nucleus is archaea related. So I think that at some point a bacteria ate an archaea and had indigestion and basically didn't digest the archaea, and the archaea somehow took over the bacteria. Or maybe the archaea infected the bacteria and just used it as a medium for reproduction. And killed off the DNA of the bacteria or absorbed the DNA of the bacteria so that it could rebuild the bacteria around itself. Don't know, but so, and no one's really clear as to what came first, or
bunch of theories, but
right, a bunch of theories, but it's really hard to look at something that happened, a couple billion years ago.
Oh yeah, and like the bacteria is even older,
right,
than the eukaryotes.
Right. So, and interestingly enough, while bacteria, and to a lesser extent archaea, have much more diversity than the eukaryotes. Eukaryotes
Makes
have
sense.
more biomass because
yes,
big critters have more biomass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a thing of the proportions and
right. Yeah.
And anything older would have a different, more divergent.
Yeah.
Especially since they survived.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also something happened where eukaryotes have linear chromosomes instead of circular, like we do. So when did that happen? Don't know. Did it happen before they got absorbed or after they got absorbed? Don't know. Not enough survived. Now, are there possibly archaea out there that have linear chromosomes? Yes, because archaea are apparently hard to find.
Oh.
Okay. And they only really find them via chemical tests for the DNA.
Right.
So, so that's the difference between those.
Okay. You got more stuff on there?
No, not really. I mean, I talked about the stuff, but I'll post these for archaea and bacteria. I didn't talk much about bacteria because we pretty much all know about bacteria. And so,
well, there might be somebody who doesn't. So you can talk about it.
Cell wall.
They're very simple.
Yeah.
And they're
very simple.
Very old.
Yeah.
And this is something we definitely potentially could find on other places.
Right. And bacteria have a lot of different types of structures, including stuff like this with stuff coming out of them, whereas archaea are generally just circular.
Okay.
And somewhere on here, it had a here.
Yeah, I don't know about Jeff, but I found some terrific information.
Yeah. And so this has different shapes of bacteria, and archaea pretty much have this kind of shape.
Okay.
So that is so are archaea a subset of bacteria? Did they just develop the shape at the same time as bacteria? We don't really know, and and there are competing theories as to who's on first, and what's on second.
Yeah, I think the overriding thing is that there was a beneficial relationship, and so it continued forward when these maybe got invaded or absorbed each other. Or whatever.
Well, yeah, and that starts getting onto eukaryotes.
Yes.
So.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, so I had originally in my notes, to talk about the transition from bacteria to archaea, but it doesn't look like that happened, or if it happened oddly. So,
okay. So it's possible parallel or sort of separate or
split and merge. Although I don't know how a merge could happen.
Borg sounds Swedish.
Borg. Yes, I get it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, whoops. Oh, that's funny. Okay. How life began, will we find out? Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not sure we can.
Well, it's quite probable that one of the theories is right. It's just we don't have enough information to know which one is right. So we probably have the answer. We just don't know that it's the right answer.
Yeah, and here's the thing about, here, of course, it's very developed. Other places might be very immature.
Yeah, and we'll get into that too after. So why don't you talk about eukaryotes?
Okay, let me go set it up.
Yep.
Go ahead and share.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, that's the one. So I really like this because they do describe this one-room cabin. What would it be like to live in a one-room cabin? Well, it'd be simple. You could do everything in the same place, and this is what the prokaryote cell is kind of like. And again, the prokaryote is the bacteria and the archaea. But then, think about something that's a little bit more divided. Oh, hey, Daniel.
Yeah, hi, Daniel. Individual cells do competition to get to multicellular organisms requires cooperativity.
Ah, that's a great way to think about that.
And cooperation, or simply they divide but don't actually detach, might be part of it too. Because the first multicellulars are like algae where they're strings of cells. So very simple.
Yes.
But
yeah, and there are some crossover things like the matted cells. They seem to be multicellular, but they're not. They're single cell creatures. So
right. Well, in fact, at some point in the past, there was a single cell creature with multiple nuclei in it. And that's one of the ones that died off, that they say died off in the Great Ice Age.
Oh.
And apparently there were, many more kingdoms of life before the Great Ice Age. And we've got the animals and plants are the ones that are left. And I guess they've kind of decided that sponges are their own special group.
Yeah, we keep switching around things, but that's how science works. You learn more and you add to your understanding.
Yeah. One decade, Pluto's is a planet. Another one is not, just because they decided to redefine things.
Well, what I like to talk about is that once upon a time we thought everything rotated around the Earth, and then we found out that that's not true. We found out that everything in our solar system anyway rotates around the sun. So anyway, back to this kind of this episode. We're talking about this one-room cabin versus a place that's more like a regular house that's split into many rooms with different purposes. I kind of like that. And this is from Khan Academy. Khan Academy has a lot of really great material, and I think it's basically free, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah, they ask for donations.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Okay. In fact, it's right up there.
Donate. I see it. Yeah. And so these, just like your house might have a different place for a kitchen and living room, bathroom, bedroom, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although most of that is actually archaea, not bacteria. But I'm sure that there are bacteria that can live there too. It's just that archaea are actually much more diverse.
Okay. Interesting. They're more diverse, but they're harder to find.
Right. Well, they tend to. I think they get outcompeted by bacteria. So they have the niche.
Okay.
Categories. So that's one of the things that says maybe bacteria is simply a kind of archaea, because they, have one specific energy source, which is the carbon cycle, whereas archaea have multiple different types.
Yeah.
But again, who knows?
Right. And so with these multicellular things, the eukaryotes basically, they do have things that act as recycling centers or maintain the acidity level and so on. Again, this is really great material here, and they do kind of cover some basic stuff, but I really want to move on to this video. I thought was really great with explaining and depicting things with graphics. The one thing I want to note about this, though, is as you're watching it, be aware they pop up these little things that seem to be the editing after the fact, and say, oh, well, what he really meant was. So you almost want to stop and read those and understand. But they do cover them pretty well. I really enjoyed this video.
I would imagine that he makes these videos and then gets a bunch of comments, and
yes.
He reads the comments, finds out what he messed up, and then does a,
There are definitely comments, as you can let's see at the bottom there. Yeah. And great questions. It's amazing. And then whoever's doing this comes back in and answers them.
Yep.
And of course, we find some really great stuff on Wikipedia. I really like it because it's clean and clear and it's understandable. And it's a great place to start. And again, we're not going to be able to cover even a small portion of this. Is a huge topic. Yeah. Huge topic.
We're not doing a year of biology here.
No.
Or a semester of biology, because that's what this is. It's a semester of biology.
Yeah. So there's nothing comprehensive at all about this. We want to pique your interest though, and show you some of the places we found some information. And this is one of them. So they do talk about what it is. It constitutes the domain of eukarya organisms whose cells have a membrane-bound nucleus. All animals, plants, fungi, and many unicellular organisms are eukaryotes. They constitute a major group of life alongside the others, prokaryotes, bacteria, and archaea. Archaea, how do we say that? We don't even know.
I think it's archaea.
Archaea? Okay. Yeah, even though there are a small number of the organisms, they are an enormous part of the global biomass. Mm-hmm. Just because we're bigger. We're bigger than bacteria by like lots. And I think there's a good thing down here about... Yeah, there's a ton of good stuff. And this is a very long page. I'm just going to cover some things that I thought were really interesting and useful to know. Yeah, they range from microscopic single cells to the like blue whales, the biggest animal on Earth, that kind of thing. They have some nice pictures about it. Small single cell things to big animals. All right. So
and big plants.
Yeah. Oh, that's the redwood.
California redwood. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is what I thought was a really important part of this too, was some of these distinguishing features, the nucleus that has this sort of, it's divided off and it encompasses itself, and it's enclosed within this other bigger thing.
And the nucleus doesn't actually do much to make complex life. What it does is it protects the DNA. So something that infects the cell has to then go through a second barrier to get to the DNA. So that's makes it much more robust.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, because if a bacteria gets it, it can be gone.
Or virus. I mean, it basically meant that a virus has to do double duty to infect it.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about the origin of the word being, it's the Greek well or good kernel. So it's kind of the kernel in the center of this thing, nucleus. All right. And they talk about the biochemistry. I wasn't as interested in that as things like this. And I love this picture, this about the internal membranes and all the different things. And one of the most important parts too, besides the nucleus, is the mitochondria. And we're thinking that maybe that's one of the first things that got absorbed that could make these more complex multicellular creatures, because the mitochondria, and they basically call it, the power source of the cell.
Yeah.
It basically gives the energy. And I got some nice pictures of the inside of that too.
Well, in fact, you read somewhere that it was the mitochondria that might have allowed the cells to get big enough to engulf the other cells that had the that then became the nucleus. So the mitochondria allowed the bigger cell. The mitochondria allowed the cell to do more. So
yeah, this part of the limitation of the bacteria was that it didn't have the energy and it couldn't do things like that.
Right. So either something absorbed mitochondria, and which was its own little single cell.
Yes.
And then whatever, and then archaea that became the nucleus, or it got infected by a mitochondria because the cells don't have DNA to make the mitochondria. The mitochondria just split them on
they bring their own. They
have their own DNA. Yeah. So
yeah, it's
essentially a cell living in the soup of a bigger cell.
Yeah.
But so did these things absorb these cells are getting infected by these cells.
Right.
No way to really know.
No.
And
I
I
got a
don't
nice
know.
page with some good theories. Though.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about this too was like, how do they, a lot of things reproduce themselves by mitosis. So, they take this thing, what they are, and then they all of a sudden they have this, they go through this cycle and it just splits.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's two of them, but they're basically identical.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, these, larger things, the eukaryotes, also do that. They do it simultaneously. But like mitochondria could, in fact, reproduce itself within the cell. So there's lots of different things about like that too.
Yeah. So I don't know if you got to it, but I don't know. Does mitochondria divide at the time that the cell divides, or does each cell end up getting whatever mitochondria is in that half of it?
Yeah, I think there's a mix of different ways, and it kind of depends on what it is. For example, if it's a liver cell in your body, it will reproduce inside the cell, and there could be like 2,000 of these mitochondria, little power packs inside a single cell, a single liver cell. So there's a couple different ways. Again, this is an enormous amount of material. I might actually do a whole show on mitochondria someday. That would be fun. I really like that. All right, so let's see what else is in here. Here we go. Here's the mitochondria. Let's just talk about it since it's here. I'm not going to go into it too in depth, but it is a very important part of it, and it has become the power source for it. And there's some really important aspects of it, like it has its own boundary, and none of these have cell walls, because that's more of a plant thing.
Well, no, there's different kinds of cell walls.
It's a plant thing, though.
No, plants have a different kind of cell wall.
Okay, they call them cell walls on plants, and they call them something else for animals.
Okay. I didn't see that when I was talking.
Again,
because they were talking about cell walls for prokaryotes, for bacteria, and
okay.
But okay, so
yeah, I could see that, especially if they went into the plant worm, because plants have to like stand themselves up, and they aren't flexible. Anyway, we'll see some stuff about that. But the mitochondria, it has these different aspects to it. It can protect itself. Let's see if we can read some of this too. The organelles, which is kind of like mini organs in the eukaryotic cells. They're commonly called the power. Here it is, the powerhouse of the cell. Because if it provides energy and oxidates sugars or fats, and can store energy too, that kind of thing. Surrounded by membranes, they call them phospholipid bilayer in the inner, which is a folded, so it'll have more surface area.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. Yeah, here it is. They contain their own DNA. Yeah,
which has structural similarities to bacterial DNA, as opposed to archaea DNA. So it looks like something, which was probably a bacteria, absorbed another bacteria, which was the mitochondria, and in archaea, that ended up being the nucleus.
It certainly looks like it, doesn't
it?
When you see the pictures of the archaea alone, and then, oh, hey, it looks a lot like that nucleus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what else is in here?
Well, I was just looking at the way the genetics of the archaea are similar to the genetics of a eukarya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I pull out the picture of this guy here somewhere? Shoot, it's somewhere. The mitochondria. I think it's I got a mitochondria and then a picture of it. So we'll talk about it again a little bit. Plastids. There's all kinds of different things, especially between the difference between like animals and plants. The plants kind of went a different way with these, what they call chloroplasts, because they transform the energy of the sun into what they need, into food, basically.
Right. And, whatever single-celled things ate chloroplasts and didn't digest them.
Yep.
Well, they didn't have to move very much. So their whole thing was getting where the sun is and staying there. So that's probably what led to plants, because there's a lot of single-cell stuff that has chlorophyll in it, has chloroplasts in it too.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So again, this just keeps going on and on and on. See if there's anything else in here I wanted to talk to you about. I think a lot of us know things like the cell wall. See, it's a cell wall versus
a cell membrane.
Yeah, cell membrane. Right. They talk about how they reproduce, and we mentioned that a little bit. So there's sort of different things for different ones of these. I think all of the early ones, bacteria and stuff, they were mitosis, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But in this case, we have things like the way we do it. We have eggs and sperm, and they become this new thing because it's fused together from the genetic material of two different creatures. All right, so let's see what else is on here. This is a wonderful chart. I don't want to read it because you're just going down a bigger rabbit hole than I really wanted to talk about tonight with this. But it's pretty cool. And I really like this part too, but I don't quite understand this first one. The Protista. So these are the kingdoms.
Protozoa. I think. I'm not positive,
yeah,
but I think
plants, fungi, animals, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna have to look at this some more. I think we'll probably do another show on some pieces of this, possibly more than one more. All right, so let's see, phylogeny. Yeah, I didn't really want to get into all this because you can certainly play with this as much or as little as you would like. This is a pretty good chart though, because it talks about these archaea and bacteria, and this is kind of one of the ideas on how they came to be. I think I have one of these up somewhere too. I guess I really want to go. We're about halfway through this page, so continue to look for those if you would like. I'm going to go talk about this thing here because this sort of says when things happen. Let me go ahead and do a couple things. Let's see. Yeah, bigify and do that because it's a little bit confusing. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You start at the bottom. And you go from, first of all, you go from right to left. And this is like the beginning of things. They call out these different periods. Oh, and look, that's when the prokaryotes came to be. Because for a while, the earth was too darn hot.
Yep.
And then you go on to the left here, up to the next level. And then you actually switch and you go to the right. And they talk about this third period, this Proterozoic. Okay.
Oh, but that's...
I'm possibly slaughtering that word.
Well, and that's the rise in atmospheric oxygen.
Okay. All right. Yes. I'm sure there's a lot of different things in here. But you can see this is where the eukaryotes came in. And then multicellular life. Yeah. And I love all this because we've got...
Yeah, which the mitochondria allowed multicellular
Yes, life. Exactly. Probably because, because of the power. And we got animals, then land plants, non-avian dinosaurs, mammals, and that's where we are. We're this little tiny dash at the end of all that. All right, so let's go on to... I thought this was a really, really neat video. It's only 10 minutes long, and it's kind of funny. Some funny stuff in it. But I think it's where did eukaryotic cells come from? A journey into endosymbiotic theory. Now, remember we talked about some different theories. I have some information about those coming up. Here's one of them, the symbiogenesis. Let's see, what did he say? Endosymbiotic. Yeah, I don't think I have that one, but that's a good video. This is a good video to watch and get a nice foundation for this stuff. So this is one of the theories.
Yeah, and so it's...
They're possible, so mitochondria, plastids, such as chloroplasts and possibly other organelles of eukaryotic cells are descended from formerly free-living prokaryotes, more closely related to the bacteria than the archaea. Right. See, that's where it says bacteria, right, for that one.
Yeah, and
here's that chart again.
Yeah, and here's the thing that makes me think that it did actually absorb things rather than being infected. Because no other bacteria has the organelles, and no other archaea has organelles. So it looks like one strain of it basically developed to gobble other things.
Kind of an evolution.
Yeah, so that one line was able to gobble other things. That apparently lost that ability at some point, but all eukaryotes and all complex life developed from that one type of strain of bacteria that could gobble stuff. And
without digesting it.
yeah, now were there other combinations? Probably, but we had a pretty good die off with a long ice age that killed off a bunch of things. Like
Yep.
one thing that I mention it earlier, a single cell organism that had multiple nuclei in it.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. Now they found fossil records of something like that, and it was, I think they said 12 meters wide.
Ah, so that's why you can see it, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about a bacteria, they're basically microscopic. How would that?
Right.
How could you see that? But if it's 12 meters wide.
Well, yeah. So it was a big sac that they think floated on top of the sea, and it had multiple nuclei in it.
Wow.
But those died off during an ice age, and there's a lot of other really odd critters that died off during that ice age. So we only have the survivors now.
Yeah, we've had a number of cycles, and they each come with their own take on life.
Yep.
All right. So is there anything else in here I wanted you to pay attention to? I think it's the next one. Yeah, there's some good stuff about the history and the people involved, that kind of thing.
But
this is great stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But of course, different people have different thoughts on what the history is. So,
yes.
On
this page, I thought this was a really good graphic too. They talk about a prokaryote grows in size and develops infoldings. And this again, this theory in its cell membrane to increase its surface area to volume ratio. The infoldings eventually pinch off from the cell membrane. They're kind of showing it changing. They're no longer attached and becoming part of the middle. But yeah, we were thinking that archaea does that instead.
Right. Well, yeah, that's just it. Is that if it does that, why are the genetics of the nucleus like the genetics of an archaea, but the cell membrane,
like
the outer membrane, is like a bacteria? So it doesn't make sense that something created, something so different from itself, when there's another example that it could easily have, have absorbed. But hey, it's possible this happened. I mean, I'm not a scientist. These guys have more letters after their name than I do. So even though people disagree with them, this is other people with lots of letters after their names disagree with them.
Well, I think that's a possibility. This is how science works. We float a theory out there, and then we try to prove it.
Yep.
And if it's, you can get 1,000 results that say it's good, and absolutely the 1,001 says nope, and that's it. You're done. That just proves it.
Right.
It can't be true anymore.
Right. And all of this happened so long ago that it's really hard to say, here is a case that shows that this one theory doesn't work.
Yes.
I don't think that this theory works, but can I prove it? Nope.
But they do talk about, what's the possible evolution of this. I thought it was just fascinating. And they do talk about bringing in the other ones too, the mitochondria and the different things. So, all right. Anything else in here? Gene transfer. Yeah, definitely. If you want to read this stuff, and mitochondria keeps coming up over and over again. It's always part of these things. Yeah, there's that picture again. All right. I think I'm going to go on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. I think I'm going to go on to this other theory too, because this is this eukaryogenesis. So they're talking about, where is it?
Oh, they actually show something similar to what I was talking about. An archaea and a bacteria shacked up together and made a eukaryote.
Yes. Oh, and you got to be careful of these things. This FECA, first eukaryotic common ancestor. When you're reading this, bear that in mind. There's a couple of them. This one, and I think it's this one, LECA. And they talk about. So this is the idea for this one. Let's see where I'm trying to find a good simple thing to talk about. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna until I get to a little bit lower.
Last eukaryotic common ancestor.
Yes, right. Here's the other one. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, so keep those two things in mind. This first and last
So,
common
so
ancestor.
this must be the theory that's right because it's the one that agrees with the thing that I think.
You're one of those type of scientists. Okay. I want to pop down to this part here because I thought this was really cool. The scenarios. Biologists have proposed multiple scenarios for the creation of the eukaryotes. While there is broad agreement that the last one must have had a nucleus, mitochondria, and internal membranes, the order in which these were acquired has been disputed. In the syntropic model, the first eukaryotic common ancestor, FECA, and that's that 2.2 billion years ago, gained mitochondria, then membranes, then a nucleus. In the phagotropic model, it gained a nucleus, then membranes, and so who knows which order these things happen. And then they have this more complex, it gained them all at the same time. Other models have been proposed. I just think it's fascinating. Many lineages must have been created, but the last one either outcompeted or came together with other lineages to form a single point of origin for the eukaryotes. That's what I really want to talk to you about there. All right, let's see. Oh, and here's the mitochondria. You know, I'm actually really thinking about doing. We're 40 minutes in here. I'm thinking about doing a whole show on this. What do you think?
Sure,
because it's a big deal.
Well, mitochondria and complex life, and that kind of gets into what we want to talk about a little bit later on too.
Yeah. All right. So I'm talking about it, but I'm gonna reserve some to talk about later. All right. So I think we're back over to you, right? Because I kind of covered this stuff.
Yeah. Let me get this out of the way. Let's see. We'll figure out what we're doing, folks.
Oh, I guess the thing that I want to tell you about next is that I first heard about mitochondria while I was reading A Wrinkle in Time, and I was probably about 8 years old. And I don't know if you're familiar with this book. Have you seen this book, folks?
Oh,
it's wonderful. Where is it?
Again.
There it is. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. That was like one of my first science fiction books. And I learned about mitochondria. So, yeah, you never know where inspiration will come from. All right. I guess there's one other piece of this I want to tell you about right now. Mitochondria typically passes from the mother to the offspring. There are a few paternal versions, though. Paternal versions, though. Sorry.
Yeah, but those
I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, those are
weird
critters. I mean, and because the reason why mitochondria passes from mother to father is because, of course, it lives in a cell and...
No, mother to offspring.
Or mother to offspring, yes. Because it lives in a cell and...
There isn't much cell in...
Yeah, the male, basically gives some of the nuclear material, but the female supplies all of the rest of the cell material in the... So that's why...
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to do a lot more digging into mitochondria. Yeah. So
and maybe how it relates to xenobiology, which is where I was going to go before, but I think we're going to hit that in a future episode. But because one of the things is, what does this mean for xenobiology? Eukaryotes only came about once. Multicellular might have come about, they say, up to 25 different instances of multicellular happened in different areas, or it was just a good idea, kind of like saber-tooth is a good idea for a certain thing because
they keep coming back.
Yeah, it keeps coming back.
That's a successful organism, so it keeps coming back.
But without at least the mitochondria, maybe without the nucleus, but at least the mitochondria, we wouldn't have multicellular life. So what does that mean for the chances of complex life out in the universe?
Even in the solar system,
yeah,
they're going to Europa. What are they going to find there? Will this occur there too, or
so
is it a once in the universe occurrence? And
will we see bacteria mats or stuff like that everywhere, or will we see complex life? Or will complex life develop some other way? Because whatever the mitochondria does, maybe a bigger cell does that itself and can thus become big and do stuff. So, it's...
Maybe we'll find that big, huge mat.
Yeah. So that's...
Somewhere.
Yeah. So, eukaryotes only happened once, and that's what led to the ability to do complex life on Earth. So does that mean that it's less likely to find complex life out there, or are there other mechanisms for it?
Yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be other ones, and I'll tell you why. Because we have finally found other planets around other stars, not just the ones that we know about in the solar system. And last I heard, there was some 5,000 of them. And you know what's happened? There's all kinds of different things. There's very, very large planets close to their sun and go whipping around really fast. And there's some in the habitable zones, and they're a little bit like Earth, maybe. And then there's all kinds of other things. The male cell uses its mitochondria for locomotion. It swims.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, and that part's that gets lost once it hits the egg, I think, right?
Yeah, it drops off.
Yeah.
So yeah, so complex life out there. Who knows? I think it's my personal thought. It's less common, but we did find an exoplanet with a bunch of oxygen in its atmosphere, and oxygen is very reactive. So how is there oxygen in this air, unless we just happen to catch it right as a fluke where something produced oxygen and now it's going to go away, or there's something producing oxygen. So, that'd be the first place I would look, although I think it's pretty far away.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we may find something in our own system, or we may find something in another system.
Well, yeah, because like the moons of Jupiter do have the conditions for life, and we'll at least be able to find out whether life itself is common and will happen wherever it can, or if it's less common and it's a special case, and that's, are we alone out there? And if there is complex life, I mean, I'd say that complex life is much, it might even be an additional line in the Drake equation. Did the thing happen to make, simple life into complex life?
And the Drake equation is kind of a speculative
Yeah.
formula for determining if there are, like, how many stars are there and how many of them might be in the habitable zone.
Or how many have planets in the habitable zone.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But there's lots of different factors. And I mean, even if you put like really low numbers and a whole bunch of them, it's a big number. So the odds are pretty good according to the Drake equation.
That something's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Someone is out there somewhere. However, there's lots of galaxies. Yeah. There's lots of galaxies. They're pretty far away.
Yeah.
And most of the variables in the Drake equation, we have no friggin' clue as to what the numbers are.
It is speculative though. So, and really, if there's more life out there, it's fantastic. If there's none, it's even more fantastic and kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think Drake created the equation to tell us how much life is out there. I think he created it to show us that there's just too much that we don't know about to even speculate about how much life is out there.
Yeah, and I think it's an odds thing too. If all these conditions happen, odds are pretty good. Anyway, do you want to read that part?
Oh,
we got another.
Yeah. Oh, you missed my Moody Blues reference.
Oh.
Thinking is the best way to travel. Love that song.
Did we miss a post from? Was that
How Life the male Began? Cells?
No, How Life Began. Is that?
Oh.
Is it that one?
Well, we find out. Yeah, possibly.
I like Janie's comment.
Fascinating subject, much more interesting than politics. Yes. Talking about simple life forms. Thanks for making me think about basic science and how many stars there are. Yeah.
My pleasure, Jeannie. Yeah, we could do an episode on the Drake equation. That'd be fun. All right, this one or no? Pass. Pass or speak?
Well, we kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, let's. For a future episode, just think about what do you think the chances of complex versus simple life are, and we're going to come back to this just because Pam wants to talk about mitochondria, and I think that is a good shoe-in to talking about xenolife also.
Okay. Yeah.
And I keep wanting to say exolife because that's the way they used to call it. Now they call it xenolife. But of course, when I talk about xenos, my mind pictures the critters from the movie Alien.
Oh, okay. I don't think I get that reference. All right, so stay tuned for more. Of course, that's the one check. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I like the Moody Blues a lot. All right, so I'm going to move on to tell you about some stellar events this week. And we're talking about December 1st through December 8th. It is the beginning of the month. So I want to remind you about some useful resources like skymaps.com. You can just download the December PDF for either Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, or if you're at the equator. I was going to read the Farmer's Almanac synopsis tonight, but I think I will reserve that for a time we don't have such a full show. But it is a great way to learn about the whole month for December. December 3rd, the Globe at Night starts their next project that goes through December the 12th. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you want to look for Gruss. In the Northern Hemisphere, that's got to be wrong spelling, Perseus. That's got to be the wrong spelling,
Pursue.
Right? Yeah, that's wrong.
Pursue.
Oh.
Cliff says the last estimate of Earth-like planets is 17 billion with the huge number of stars out there.
Yes.
And they're just so far away. Yep.
Very far away.
Yep.
Yeah, like the closest Andromeda is like, what is it?
A
million light years or something?
That's a galaxy. The closest star is
star, yeah. In our galaxy, yeah.
4 point something.
Yeah.
Light years.
So Globe at Night. Go out, take pictures, report to the site. You can do it online on your computer. Or you can do it on your cell phone, that kind of thing. December 4th, the moon is at apogee and Mercury is at its greatest eastern elongation. It'll be 21 degrees east of the sun. That's going to be sunrise. It'll be in the mornings. All right, December 5th is the last quarter moon. December 6th, the moon is on the equator and Neptune is, I would say, appears stationary. December 7th is Hanukkah begins. December 8th, we're back to our Friday night show. We got a couple things in mind.
Yeah.
We had an idea, and then it kind of flitted away.
Yeah. Well, if
it's
if
a
we can come up
thing,
with
but
enough stuff to talk about for the possibility of the types of life on other planets, by next week we'll do that. Otherwise, I've got a Zooniverse that we can do.
Cool. All right. So find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. Also, that is going to be the moon is at descending node that day, at December 8th. And then you're up.
Yep. So, yeah, Earth-like planets is 17. Cliff is clarifying. Last estimate of Earth-like planets is 17 billion with huge number of stars out there. Yeah. And just saying that 17 billion is a small number compared to the stars. So, yes. Although Earth-like planets might actually be more common than we think, it's just that they're hard to spot.
They're very hard to find. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why we have so many gas giants that are really close to the stars is because those are easy to find. So it's like in the dark, all the animals glitter. Well, no, just the ones that you can see. That's okay. So other events and activities. Earlier today, Pam saw something on Twitter, or as they now call it, X. Nathan Price wants to interview you. And yeah, can you show?
I'm going to go there now.
Yeah, you go there and I'll show it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There we go. And
here it is. It's there.
Okay. So it's on Twitter he wrote in the 2020s the 2020s are going to be to space exploration what the 1990s were to the internet. Let's talk about it. I'm interviewing a person a day till the end of 2024. So he's got a lot of time slots to fill out. So if you're interested, let me copy this over into the chat.
And here is the page. He says, I'm having a casual conversation with a different person each day till the end of 2024 to document people's thoughts on it. These conversations are open-ended, but there are a few questions that I'll try to get in. Did you know NASA was sending astronauts back to the moon? What do you think about it? Where do you see humanity in 200 years? Would you take a trip to space if you could? I encourage every single one of our viewers to go and talk to this guy. He's got, you can pick a day here. It's a Zoom type interview. And he's got a compilation of several of the people he's already spoken to. Check it out.
Yep. Oh, and okay, so let's come back to us. And then Cliff is continuing on his average of 7 planets to a star.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Earth-like planets. Now, it has to be Earth-like in the habitable zone, so that does limit it some.
Well, what we consider the habitable zone, who knows what?
Well, as for any life that we know about needs liquid water. So that's, now, of course, there are moons around Jupiter that probably have liquid water on them. So the habitable zone is a lot more negotiable than we thought.
Right. Janie's got a comment too.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay, here we go. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Fun and interesting to interview.
Yeah,
people.
check it out. Check it out. Because I think you put the link in, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, for one thing, all those folks in that one video I showed were all fellows. Ladies, please weigh in on this topic as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to go do this one?
Yeah, sure. So remember to launch your digital postcard into space. At Club for the Future, we'll add the link to the chat, and we'll do that right now. And
it's a long one.
And that's the Blue Origin thing. So you can put a postcard and they'll fly it, similar to
do that.
Similar to JP's PongSat.
Yeah.
But they can probably fly more postcards per flight than a PongSat because of the form factor.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Wikipedia photo contest is going. The photo contest around science is going. It was running from November, but through December, so it's still you still have half the time.
Don't dally.
Yeah.
I'll get that link too. How's that?
Yeah. And as in any contest, follow all the rules in the thing. We talked about it in an earlier episode. Yeah. And you can still get your name etched onto the spacecraft going to Europa.
Yeah, we checked.
Yep. And so you can join the mission and have your name engraved on NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft as it travels 1.8 billion miles to explore Europa, an ocean world that may support life. Sign your name today to the message in a bottle.
And I added that link. It should be clickable in the chat.
Yep. And our friend Bob Gonley is working on the Clipper, and he says, and to ask him in April, and
I think he's got some leadership role. I forget what he said.
Yeah, and I would imagine he's very busy until they actually get that sucker off the ground.
There's exoplanets, all the super Earths. Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, in fact, the super Earths might actually be more habitable than ours.
Oh,
but maybe for simple life, because they think that disasters cause complex life.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, we'll see. I might get into that in the episode too. The garden world versus hill world. And
I could see a good tie into Babylon 5 too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in our world, our planet might be considered a hell world.
Yes.
Because of all the disasters it's had.
Certainly once upon a time. I mean, the moon may have been caused by a collision, and of course it was very hot once upon a time. I mean, and that seems like how they're going to form, I guess. But
right, yeah.
I could be wrong.
And then it's had several ice ages.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of good hits with comets. So, yeah. And
so right now it's nice and calm. Enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah. But of course, you've got bacteria and viruses that are trying to kill everything too. So,
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Anything else for you? leave us a message. We'll check it out. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with this. If you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, astronomy like that, we'd love to share our live. The next show is December the 8th, and we might do
more of this, or we might do the Zooniverse.
Yeah.
We have to decide pretty fast because you announce it Sunday night. So
Yep.
we'll think really hard as to which one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. You want to do a shout out? Who we got? Dawn and Jamie and Cliff and Scott was here. And
I thought, and Daniel was here also.
Daniel. Yes. Thank you.
And I think that's it. Scott, Jamie, yep. Dawn, Cliff. Yep.
Thank
Daniel,
you so much for being here, everybody. Have a great week.
Yep.
We'll see you on December the 8th.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.